looking for an author.
I thought we were talking about the spectators.
An author? What author?
Oh, just some author.
And the audience?
We have no author. We're not rehearsing the new play.
Even better, it is us who will be your new play.
Well.
And if there is still an author, you wouldn't want to be the author, would you?
Would you be the author?
All right. What's your point after all?
None. I would just like to show you that you can enter life in so many ways, in so many shapes. You can be tree or butterfly, man or woman. You can even be born to be a character.
Really? And could I choose what I want to be? You and you. You go to the left and you go to the right. You go to the right. Oh, you too.
Oh.
Let's see. All of them were enjoying the night under a bright moonlight. A cool breeze was making them relieve in this hot weather. They were all sitting right next to a campfire. Some of them were roasting marshmallows. Some of them were lying on the sand. One of them was playing the guitar. And two beautiful girls were accompanying him with their lovely voice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, right. We are 5. 4. They were all friends. Some were even more than that. So far, everything was going just the way they imagined. So, let the story begin.
Verde, que te quiero verde. Verde viento, verdes ramas. El barco
Green.
sobre la mar,
As I love
el
you.
caballo en la volcán.
Really. Green the wind. And green the branches. The dark sheep on the sea. And the horse on the mountain.
With her waist that's made of shadow, dreaming on the high veranda. Green the flesh and green the tresses, with eyes of frozen silver.
Green as I love you. Greenly. Beneath the moon of the gypsies. Salad things are looking at her. Things she cannot see. Things you cannot see.
Green, as I love you greenly. Gray stars with white hoarfrost. Come with the fish of shadow, opening the road of morning.
The fig tree is rubbing on a dawn wind with the rasping of its branches, and the mountain, thieving cat-like, bristles with its sorry gaze.
Who is coming? And from where? She waits on the high veranda, green the flesh and green the tresses.
Dreaming of the bitter ocean. Salut, prieteni!
Salut!
Hei, ciao, Arcanaș!
Ciao, amica!
Ciao, amica!
Hello, my friends!
Fortune is arranging matters for us better than we could have shaped our desires ourselves. For there, come my friend, look where 30 or more monstrous giants present themselves, all of whom I'm going to engage in battle and enslave. What giants? Those you see there, with long arms, and some of them have nearly 2 leagues long. Look, what we see there are not giants,
then followed by a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. Leaping and hopping on a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow.
Because everything is true in the magic inside and outside of the pages. So are we. As real as that when we tell stories, when we tell them stories, when both we and they choose our own story and become it.
Once upon a time, there was a piece of wood. It was not an expensive piece of wood. I do not know how this really happened, yet the fact remains that one day, this piece of wood found itself in the shop of an old carpenter.
So now we have the story. We are the story. The world's most read story, having the stars above, the sea to your left, and the land to your right. And to realize, of a sudden, that life has accomplished its final miracle. It has become a fairy tale.
Since we cannot change reality, let us change the eyes we see reality. A man needs a little madness, or else they'll never dare to cut the rope and be free.
All right, tell us your little madness.
I prefer movies.
I prefer cats.
I prefer the oaks along the riverbanks.
I prefer Dickens to Dostoevsky.
I prefer myself liking people to myself loving mankind.
I prefer keeping a needle and thread on hand, just in case.
I prefer the color green.
I prefer not to maintain that reason is to blame for everything.
I prefer exceptions.
I prefer to leave early.
I prefer talking to doctors about something else.
I prefer the old fine-lined illustrations.
I prefer the absurdity of writing poems than the absurdity of not writing poems.
I prefer, where love's concerned, non-specific anniversaries that can be celebrated every day.
I prefer moralists who promise me nothing.
I prefer cunning kindness to the over-trustful kind.
I prefer the earth in cities.
I prefer conquered to conquering countries.
I prefer having some reservations.
I prefer the hell of chess to the hell of order.
Chaos.
I prefer the hell of chaos.
I prefer Grimm's fairy tales to the newspaper front pages.
I prefer leaves without flowers to flowers without leaves.
I prefer ducks with crop tails.
I prefer light eyes, since mine are dark.
I prefer desk drawers.
I prefer many things I haven't mentioned here to many things I've also left unsaid.
I prefer zeros on the loose to those lined up behind the cipher.
I prefer the time of insects to the time of stars.
I prefer to knock on wood.
I prefer not to ask how much longer and when.
I prefer keeping in mind even the possibility that existence has its own reason for being.
For example, once upon a time there were two pieces of wood. Let's see. You.
Me.
Yes. And.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm completely sure. And you.
Excuse me, madam, but it seems to me, unless I'm mistaken, that I've met you somewhere before.
Aren't you, sir? It seems to me that I've met you somewhere before, too.
Was it, by any chance, Pucioasa that I caught a glimpse of you, madam?
It is indeed possible, dear sir. I am originally from the town of Pucioasa, but I do not have a good memory, so I cannot tell whether it was there that I caught a glimpse of you or not.
Good Lord, how curious. I too am originally from the town of Pucioasa, madam.
That is curious.
Isn't that curious? Only I, madam, I left the town of Pucioasa about 5 weeks ago.
How curious that is. I also left the town of Pucioasa about 5 weeks ago, sir.
Madam, I took the 8:30 morning train, which arrives in London at 4:45.
How curious that is. I took the same train, sir.
Good Lord, how curious. Perhaps it was on the train I saw you?
It is indeed possible, dear sir, but I do not recall it.
I travel second class, madam. There's no second class in England, but I always travel second class.
How curious that is. I also travel second class, dear sir.
Good Lord, how curious. Perhaps we have met in second class, madam?
It is indeed possible, dear sir, but I do not recall it.
My seat was in coach number 8, compartment 6, my dear lady.
How curious that is. My seat was also in coach number 8, compartment 6, dear sir.
Good Lord, how curious. Perhaps we have met in compartment 6, my dear lady?
It is indeed possible, dear sir, but I do not remember it at all.
To tell the truth, I do not remember it either, whether it was there that we saw each other or not. But as I think of it, it seems to me even very likely.
Oh, truly, of course, truly, sir.
My seat was number 3 next to the window, my dear lady.
How curious that is. I had seat number 6 across from you, dear sir.
Good Lord, how curious and what a coincidence. We were then seated facing each other, madam. It was there that we have
It
so.
is indeed possible, dear sir, but I do not recall it.
To tell the truth, I do not remember it either. However, it is very possible that we saw each other on that occasion.
I'm not sure of it at all, dear sir.
Dear madam, were you not the lady who asked me to put her suitcase in the luggage rack, who faked me and gave me permission to smoke?
But of course, that must have been I. How curious that is, how bizarre.
What a coincidence.
Yes, indeed.
It is indeed possible, dear sir, but I do not recall it.
Good Lord, how curious.
How bizarre.
And what a coincidence.
Perhaps we have seen each other on that occasion, my dear lady.
I do not recall it at all, dear sir.
Nor do I, madam. Since coming to London, I have resided in Bloomfield Street, my dear lady.
How curious that is.
How bizarre.
And what a coincidence.
I too, since coming to London, I have resided in Bromfield Street too, dear sir.
Good Lord, how curious.
How bizarre.
And what a coincidence.
Perhaps we have seen each other in Bloomfield Street, my dear lady.
I'm not sure of it at all, dear sir.
I reside at number 19, my dear lady.
How curious that is.
How bizarre.
And what a coincidence.
I also reside in number 19, dear sir.
Well then,
Well then,
Well then what?
perhaps we have seen each other in that house, my dear lady.
It is indeed possible, but I do not recall it.
My flat is on the 5th floor, number 8, my dear lady.
How curious that is.
How bizarre.
and what a coincidence.
My flat is also on the 5th floor, number 8, dear sir.
How curious that is.
How curious that is.
How curious that is.
And what a coincidence. You know, in my bedroom, there is a bed, and it is covered with a black iron. You know, that bed and the black iron are at the end of the corridor between the toilet and the bookcase, my dear lady.
How curious that is. I have a bed. It is covered with a black iron. It is seated between the bookcase and the toilet, dear sir, and it's at the end of the corridor.
How curious, bizarre, strange. Then we live in the same room and we sleep in the same bed. It was there that we have seen.
It is indeed possible, and we could have even met last night. But I do not remember it, dear sir.
Nor do I, madam. I have a little girl, my little daughter. She lives with me, my dear. She's 2 years old, she's blonde, she has a white tie and a red eye, but she's very pretty. Her name is Sally.
How curious that is. I have a little girl, my little daughter. She is very pretty. She's blonde. She has a white eye and a red eye. And her name is Alice too, dear sir.
How curious it is and what a coincidence. And bizarre. Perhaps they are the same, my dear lady.
It is indeed possible. Told you so.
Now, Brooks and Andre are too happy to hear me.
I can tell you the truth. Rux is not Rux, and Andrei isn't Andrei.
Here's the proof. The child Andre is talking about is not also Brooks' child. They are not one and the same. Andre's girl has a white eye and a red one exactly like Brooks' girl.
But while Andrei's girl has a red white eye and a left white eye, Ruxa's has a left white eye and a red white eye.
Therefore, the entire argumentative system Andre built is falling apart, stumbling in this last obstacle, which disproves the whole construction. In spite of the amazing coincidences, there seem to be as many revealing proofs as there are not the parents of the same child. They, themselves, are not Andre and Rux.
He thinks he's Andrei and that she's Rux.
She thinks that she's Rux and he's Andre. They're both deadly wrong. Who's the real Andre?
Who's the real Rux?
And then I wonder, who is interested in the making of this mischief? Well, I still don't get it. Is Rux or is Rux Andre? I don't know. Well, that's really strange. Do you get us there now? I don't know. Is Andre? No. No, I still don't get it. Well, then that is something we must not really try to find out. We should leave everything mixed up. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. Sherlock Holmes.
And seeing that the night was close,
Cristi?
Romina, Rucu,
Daria
Rux. Andrei.
remained silent.
But not completely. A great while ago, the world began. With hey-ho, the wind and the rain. But that's all one. Our play is done. And we'll strive to please you every day.